The snow was falling heavily on the cracked pavement of a worn-out neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago. People hurried by with their collars up, boots crunching in the slush, heads bowed to the wind. But among the rushing bodies, one small voice cried out, raw, desperate, and impossible to ignore. "Sir! Please take my baby sister, she's starving." Jonathan Hayes, a 42-year-old businessman who had just closed a major deal downtown, turned slowly, stunned. The voice didn't match the urgency, too fragile, too young. His breath caught as his eyes locked onto the scene behind him. A little boy, no more than 7, stood in thin, ragged clothes. His arms shook as he held a bundled infant wrapped in what looked like an old curtain. The baby's face was pale, lips tinged with blue. She didn't cry. She didn't move. Jonathan froze. This wasn't some staged scam like he'd seen downtown. There was no adult hiding behind a corner. No donation box. This was real. What did you say?" Jonathan stammered, walking back. The boy's brown eyes filled with panic. "She hasn't eaten in 2 days. I don't know what to do. Mommy didn't wake up yesterday. Please help her. I can't carry her anymore." Jonathan felt like the air had been knocked out of him. He crouched, gently taking the baby from the boy's trembling arms. She was cold. Too cold. "We need to get her warm," Jonathan said quickly, removing his own coat and wrapping her tightly. "What's your name?" "Lucas." "Her name's Rosie." Jonathan didn't hesitate. He flagged down a taxi and told the driver to go straight to Mercy General Hospital. As they rode, he kept checking Rosie's chest to make sure she was breathing. Lucas sat silently, staring out the window, as if too numb to cry. At the hospital, doctors rushed in as Jonathan shouted for help. Rosie was taken immediately to the ER. Lucas tried to follow, but a nurse gently held him back. "You're not allowed in there right now, sweetheart." Lucas clung to Jonathan's arm, eyes wide and afraid. "Please don't leave us." "I won't," Jonathan whispered, his voice cracking. The beginning of a bond. Over the next few days, doctors worked to stabilize Rosie. She had severe malnutrition and pneumonia but was responding to treatment. Social workers got involved. The police located the children's mother dead in their one-bedroom apartment from a suspected overdose. No other family was listed. Jonathan couldn't sleep that night. He sat in the hospital cafeteria, replaying everything. A random encounter, a child begging on a freezing street, and now 2 lives hanging in the balance. He could have walked past them. Everyone else did. Jonathan had lived a different life, a wealthy, comfortable one. But what he didn't often talk about was his own childhood. Foster homes. Loneliness. A mother who left and never came back. That pain, the feeling of being discarded, had never really left him. And now, fate had dropped Lucas and Rosie into his path. The next morning, Jonathan found Lucas in the pediatric waiting area, curled up in a chair, still in the same clothes. "I brought you breakfast," Jonathan said, handing him a bagel and orange juice. Lucas sat up and took it with shaking hands. "Thank you, sir. Call me John." "Okay. John." They sat in silence as Lucas ate. "You know," Jonathan said after a while, "you did something very brave. You saved your sister's life." Lucas looked down. "I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I could find someone kind. You found me." The battle for custody. The hospital stay turned into weeks. Rosie slowly recovered, and Lucas began opening up, talking about how he used to take care of his baby sister while their mother disappeared for days at a time. How they used to eat cereal and tap water. How he learned to keep quiet, to stay small. Jonathan knew the system. Foster care was waiting. He'd been through it. He couldn't let that happen. So he made a decision, one that shocked his colleagues and even himself. He filed for temporary custody. The legal process was anything but easy. Social services were skeptical. Jonathan was a single man with no children of his own, a busy corporate life, and no foster parent training. But he attended every court hearing, filled out every form, and opened every door that led to adoption classes and parenting seminars. There were moments he questioned himself. Nights when Rosie cried for hours or Lucas had nightmares. Times when work clashed with school drop-offs. But slowly, the house that once felt cold and modern began to warm. Lucas started smiling more. He drew pictures and taped them to the fridge. Rosie began toddling around, clutching a stuffed bear Jonathan had bought on impulse. There was laughter now. Spilled milk. Crayons on the walls. But also something precious, belonging. The final challenge. Then came the final hearing. Jonathan stood before the judge, heart pounding. Lucas held his hand tightly. "Mr. Hayes," the judge began, "raising 2 children is no small commitment. You've never been a parent before, and there are concerns about your ability to meet their long-term needs." "I understand, Your Honor," Jonathan said, his voice steady. "But I was one of those kids once, shuffled around, forgotten. And I promised myself, if I ever had the chance to give a child what I never had, I would. These 2 children aren't just a responsibility. They're my family." Lucas looked up at him and nodded. "He saved us. He didn't have to. But he did." There was a long pause. Then the judge smiled. "Custody granted. A new beginning." That evening, they went out for ice cream to celebrate. Rosie giggled, her cheeks sticky with chocolate. Lucas sat beside Jonathan in the booth, a contented grin on his face. "Are we really a family now?" he asked. "We've always been," Jonathan said. "We just made it official." As they left the diner, snow began to fall again, soft and slow. But this time, there was no coldness. No hunger. No fear. Just a man who stopped when others didn't. A boy who didn't give up on hope. And a little girl who now had a future. Because sometimes, one act of kindness doesn't just change a life, it saves it.